Hey yo folks, welcome to the channel, and today we're looking at LEGO Indiana Jones set number 7712, the Fighter Plane Chase. This set released in 2023 for $35 US with 387 pieces and 3 minifigures. This set contains 3 builds, 2 of them being cool vehicles, so let's get right into it. Starting off small and working our way to the big stuff, we're looking at this sign which shows not only a tunnel warning but as well as directions to Berlin, which I'm not sure if it's because it's the set I got, but I find it odd how the text on the sign is a bit more of a light blue rather than a white. I mean, there are a couple of other stickers. Yes, this set does have stickers. There are a couple of other stickers that do have a bit of off printing per se, but at the same time it's not that big of a deal to where I'm losing sleep at night, of course. But it's a pretty simple build. You got sandy terrain, a little bush, and you got the sign, which I do think came out well. If you look at the back, you can see how it works. It is pretty decent, but I feel like this black piece should have been gray to match the rest of the sign. Otherwise, it just looks very off-putting. However, it's not that big of a deal, and there's not a whole lot I would add aside from maybe the tunnel, but I can't really think of how you do it to where it's not only not costly, but at the same time not awkward. And the only other thing I would add that I feel like that they should have added was maybe a couple of seagulls for the scene for when they take care of the second plane, but other than that, it's an alright build. But let's look at something better, such as the cars, starting at that right now. For our next build, we have the car that Indiana Jones and his father Henry Jones ride, which is a really well done build. I like the size, and normally I don't like stickers a whole lot, but I do find it clever how they do the doors where it's this tile which has a sticker on it, which is meant to, of course, represent the door with a handle and some markings. You also got these tires at the bottom, which I do find it odd how it doesn't fully conceal the tire, but it's not that big of a deal. I do like how it's small, but at the same time it's just built nicely. You do got the grill sort of piece for the windshield and whatnot, and you also use some unique pieces like these curved pieces, I'm not sure what they're called, as well as these pieces which would normally be used for BB-8's head in the Star Wars series, which, if you look at the back, it does have a pretty simple build. I imagine this is meant to be like a tire, I believe. Of course, you can't really replace one of the tires with this piece, of course, but the side looks a lot similar to the other side, which is alright. As you can see, there's not a whole lot in the driver's seats, aside from the steering wheel, and of course, you can fit 2 figures, which we'd have Indy and Henry Jones in the seats. And on the back, as you can see, there's a compartment for a briefcase as well as a chest or a storage, whatever you want to call it, which there's nothing in the briefcase, which it's nice to get more of these, but in the chest you do come with 2 accessories, one being a pistol, which is a newer build compared to the older ones. The older one didn't have this tiny hole at the bottom, and oh well, it's nice to get more of these pistols, as well as an umbrella, which Henry would use to get the seagulls to fly into the second plane of the scene, but it's nice. It's a really nice car build, and it's arguably one of my favorite builds set. I do love these pieces meant to represent the sides I'm not sure what these would be called, but I do like these pieces to cover the tires, and overall this is a really nice car build and probably one of my favorites, one of my favorite builds of the set. But let's actually take a look at the other cool build of this set, the enemy plane. Let's take a look at that right now. Actually, before we move on to the plane, I'd like to show that this is a very drivable car. Of course, I do want to mention that, as well as you of course can fit both figures in here. As you can see, you got Indy here driving the car, as well as Henry Jones on the side, which they do both fit really nicely in there. So yeah, this is a really nice car build, and I just love how it came out. But enough stalling, let's get to the plane. And for the last of our builds of this set, we have the fighter plane, which this actually isn't our first time getting the fighter plane, because we did get this in the original Indiana Jones line. However, instead of a car, that set had another plane, but we're focusing on this plane for now, which this is a really nice build. You got a gray and dark gray color scheme with some light green. I'm not sure what to call that green, I'm gonna just call it light green, but you do have some stickers on the wings, on the front sides, and as well as on the back, and unfortunately on the window, which I do find the window peeled kind of cool. You got this small carved window piece, as well as this half tube, which, let's take a quick look at the cockpit. You can see you could fit at least 1 minifigure in here, but take it out, you just got a seat as well as a lever, and as you can see, you got some printed pieces to represent the controls and whatnot, which this is a pretty small plane build, but still, it's real nice. There's not a whole lot going on underneath. You got 3 wheels, 2 rubber, 1 not rubber. I don't know why there's no rubber wheel on this piece, but I guess whatever. But there's a lot of cool, unique pieces. Like for the propeller blades, you got the, what I believe would be like the boat paddle or whatever to have be the propeller blades, which is a really cool technique, which the propeller can spin, of course. And I really like how for the engine, you got these superhero pieces that were introduced in the superhero minifigure series to have them pose and whatnot, which a cool feature about this set is, well, I'd also like to mention you can obviously move it around, like, because it has the wheels and whatnot, but onto the feature, you can actually take the wings off, because, like in the scene, the plane goes to the tunnel, it crashes its wings, and it just goes on by, which is probably why you got the flaming piece, only to crash once it releases out the cave, which is a really cool detail. You also got this orange piece on the wings itself, likely to represent the flames and whatnot, but it's a really cool addition, and as you can see on the wings, they got stud shooters, so that way you can just go pew pew like that. And now I'm gonna have to look for the studs again, but yeah, this is a really cool plane build. I don't think there's a whole lot I would add to it. I can't think of anything else. I do think this is a pretty small plane, but I do think it's a really nice build, and I do think they just did this really well. But you know what else is pretty well? Those minifigures, and let's take a look at them right now. For the first of our minifigures, we of course got the man himself, Indiana Jones, which I'd like to mention that this set has all exclusive figures. Even Indiana Jones, who you might think is the same as the one from, let's say, the Tomb set that had the Ark. I'm not sure what the name of it is right now, but the only difference between that set is he not only lacks a satchel piece, but he has a unique torso where you can see he's got a tie on the torso, which is a really cool inclusion. I do like how they got the leg printing, as well as they gave him a new facial expression, which does have 2 faces. But before we look into that, I'd like to take a look at the headpiece, which is a hair hat combo, which I really like that they made this piece. I do wish that we got more Indiana Jones set, but I'll get into that at the end of the video, which I do like. It's got some like printing, or whatever you'd say, dual molding, whatever, on the top to represent the different colors of the hat, which is real nice. You got the hair on the bottom right there. He doesn't come with a regular hairpiece. He doesn't come with a regular hairpiece in any of the other Indiana Jones set in this line, but that's okay. It's a really nice hairpiece. Hair, hat combo, whatever, but yeah. He does also have some printing on the back, which is really nice to represent his jacket and all that, which if you take his head off, you can see he's got a more confused, wondering, curious, whatever type of expression, where on the front he's got a more confident type of expression. For accessories, he does have his iconic whip, which you can't really have him without it, of course, but still, it's really nice to get another one of these. You'd think they would use something different, considering that this is like the OG whip from the original line, but it's nice that they got the original whip back, which the other, if you count it, there is also the pistol, which was in the car trunk, which I'm just gonna leave him with the whip now, but yeah, this is a really, overall, really solid Indiana Jones figure, and I really think they just did a really good job with the Indiana Jones figures in this line. But speaking of other Indiana Jones figures, let's take a look at the next figures right now. For the next minifigure of the set, we of course have Henry Jones Sr., or Henry Jones. We're just going to call him Henry for the sake of the video, which this is a lot similar to the older figure with the all beige color scheme and the same hat. I'm surprised they kept the same exact hat piece, which of course he got the new printing, as well as a unique headpiece, which of course doesn't have a alternative expression, but still, it's a really nice upgrade from the older version. And you of course got some back printing, and one thing I really like about this figure, aside from the newness of it, is that you've got this piece for accessory, which is meant to be his diary. I'm gonna see if I can get it as close to the camera. And it is printed, which this is a really nice print. I'm so glad that they actually included it. It's nice that they made it a small piece rather than just a big massive piece that's just weird. But yeah, this is a really nice figure. I'm glad that this was included, and I'm glad they got that little piece printed and whatnot. This is just a really good figure. This set is full of good figures, though I do feel like the next figure might not be as great as the previous two, but still is pretty good. So let's take a look at that figure right now. And for our final figure of the set, we have the fighter pilot. Yeah, let's just call it that, of course. Of course, the Lego brick set officially labels it as fighter pilot, because you don't want to call them a you-know-what. But there's not a whole lot going on with this figure, aside from I do believe this sand pilot helmet is new, because I don't think I've seen it in any other sets, which you, of course, got the cool goggle piece, which can go up and down to cover the eyes and whatnot. And as you can see, he's got a generic face, which we've seen in Star Wars, Harry Potter, and whatnot, which I do also like how you got a unique torso, though, with this pilot sort of suit. It's a big step up from the original Indiana Jones line, where you just have the enemy soldier with a helmet. So that's a really nice addition, and you do got some back printing. He doesn't come with any accessories unless you want to count that pistol from the chest, but for now we're just going to say he doesn't have any accessories. But yeah, this is a really nice inclusion, even if he's just a basic figure, basic pilot. But yeah, it's a really nice inclusion. I do think maybe we should have gotten an additional pistol just for the sake of him having a accessory and weapon and whatnot, but yeah. Aside from that, this is a real cool figure and a real cool addition. But anyways, let's take one final look at the set right now.